Now, down to verse 36. We're just jumping all over, but this is such a very good passage to learn principles from. David wanted to magnify God's hand in his life, and he gets an opportunity to speak. And this is what he says in verse 36. Your servant has killed both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, seeing, and he says it again, he has defied the armies of the living God. David couldn't get off that one thing. That's what bothered him. Verse 37, moreover, David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion, from the paw of the bear, he'll deliver me from the hand of the Philistine. And Saul said, God be with you. You see, David wanted to magnify God's hand. He didn't give him his pedigree and say, I'm great. What he said was, God has used me in the past. I'm God's servant. He'll use me again. Now look at verse 45. David wanted to glorify God with his life. Then David said to the Philistine, you have come to me with sword and spear and with javelin, but I come to you not with earthly armaments, not with physical strength. I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Boy, that bothered David, that he defied God. Verse 46, this day the Lord, not me, not Mr. Good with a slingshot, the Lord will deliver you into my hand. I will strike you. I will take your head from you. This day I will give your carcass to the camp of the Philistines, or the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines, to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth. Listen, that all the earth may know that there's a God around here, because he's not showing up in this army. Nobody's looking at him, but I'm going to show everybody. Now, just as a sidelight, if you study the text, Goliath, and we can't tell from the Hebrew whether he had 4 brothers or 4 sons. He had 4 relatives. That's all we know. 4 giant relatives. And Goliath. So how many stones did David take? 5. Now, when I read the Bible storybooks, what they're thinking is he wasn't a very good shot. So he had to have 5 smooth stones. You know, if he, missed him. Missed him again. You know, he was going to have lots of extras. No. He's going to take Goliath and wipe out his family too. And this guy has confidence. He was ready to wipe out all those who defied God. He wanted to glorify God with his life. Last thing, look at verse 54. David finally wanted to dedicate his life wholly to the Lord. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. That was so the people would know God's enemy is dead. But he put his armor in his tent. You say, so what? What does that mean? Well, if you read around this text in 1 Samuel 21:9, you find out that armor, especially the sword, David actually carried later and took to the tabernacle and dedicated it to the Lord. He didn't want to have a trophy around. Can you imagine what it would be like to have that gigantic sword and show it off and tell everybody you're the giant killer? David didn't want to do that. What did he take, his trophy? What did he do with it? He gave it to God. And David said, all my trophies I give to God. And he did that all the way through his life. He measured life from God's perspective. He wanted to dedicate his life and the trophies of his life wholly to the Lord. Well, are you seeking God while you're young? You say, how do I start? Well, here's a quick game plan from David. Realize your life is on God's mind. He wants to use you. Realize your life needs discipline. Realize that your life needs to be available to God to use. Say, God, here I am. Take me, use me. Realize your life needs to be empowered by the Lord. You can't do anything without Him. Realize that your life every day needs to be an example of godliness. And your life needs to display true humility. And your life needs to minister to others. And like David, desire to honor God with your life. And desire to honor God with your work. And desire to honor God with your attitude. And desire to honor God with your habits. And like David, desire to magnify what God is doing in your life. And glorify God with your life. And then dedicate all parts of your life to the Lord. Is it any wonder that David was after God's own heart?